Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally the D-Unit's time. I've got a massive, massive green arrow after game week 5, and this is my transfer plans. I've already taken a hit this week, and I haven't activated my wild card like I said I would if Watkins, Sells, and Milinkovic all sucked, and they all did suck. But green arrow acquired. I'm now feeling really positive about my team, especially when I show you during this video why I'm not pressing the wildcard button, what I intend on doing. It's all in this video. Yes, I might be just losing the plot here and potentially just doing stuff that potentially is going to kill me later in the season, but I've actually got a path to success mapped out that I think now has opened up. I've seen the light, I've seen the green arrows, and I'm here to talk it through with you. Let me know in the comments how you went on in game week 5, and to everyone that did join me for the live watch songs this weekend, you guys are amazing. As usual, this community is exactly why I do it. It's why I pump out those videos, just for you guys. I don't sit there and expect you to follow me, and quite often I will get it wrong, and I have got some stuff wrong this season, but I'm up and about. Smash a like on the video, leave me a comment as I said, and if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button. We're closing in on 3,000. Can this be the week that we hit the 3,000 mark? I can't do it without you guys, so please consider doing so. And with that being said, let's go. So the team. Now, some parts of this team I'm unbelievably sick of. Like, I will not sit there and deny you. I've had enough of double Forest defense. I've had enough. How many good fixtures can you have in the first 5 weeks and keep delivering diddly squat? Dubravka has literally outscored Sells in every single week, I think, this season. Like, I was very frustrated. On Saturday, I really did feel like wildcarding, and then I thought, no, there's no price rises that you want to worry about at the moment. Like, I was already committed to a SAR losing 0.1, and I was okay with that because I just think that long-term is going to be great. Reindeer's obviously dropped in price as well during this game week. And look, I sat there and I was like, oh, I've just got to roll through to Sunday and then see how Sunday goes, and then we can reassess. So then Sunday rolls around and, well, Senesi obviously did really well in that game, and Bournemouth obviously kept a clean sheet. I didn't have Semenyo, and he didn't absolutely kill my rank, which was good. I had Ollie Watkins, and the more I watch Aston Villa, the more I'm just deeply concerned about what's going on there. But look, they've got the European competition to hopefully play themselves into some form before, obviously, Burnley come a-calling in 2 weeks' time, and they've got Fulham on the weekend. I'm just hoping that they can score some goals in Europe and Ollie Watkins is involved. That's all I care about at this point, because I'm probably going to tank another 0.1 price drop, and I'm going to explain why later in this video as well. So it might not make sense now, but I'm telling you, I've got a real plan about what I'm going to do. It was really frustrating again seeing Collins get a 0-pointer. Didn't get the DC combination, even though Fulham battered him, and you would have thought that he would have got 10 just based on the game, the way it went. But he didn't get anywhere near it. Finished on 8, which wasn't good enough. Milinkovic again, 8. I'll openly admit, Milinkovic this season has not done what I thought he was going to do. He hasn't even looked like scoring a goal, hasn't even looked like getting any DC points, and hasn't looked like keeping a clean sheet. What a dud pick at 5.5 mil. The only good news is he hasn't dropped in price yet. Now, potentially, that's the only thing that could potentially force me into a wild card. Is if Milinkovic, Watkins, and a couple others look like they're dropping in price this week, then that's problematic. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about what I'm doing in a little bit. Obviously, Juve on the bench with 3 and Dorgo on the bench with 5 points. Very unexpected points on the bench. I mean, Juve I did weigh up playing instead of Reindeers. Obviously, the card told me to play Reindeers, and thank God it did. But realistically, I should have just left Cunha on the bench, played Juve, would have been 2 points better off. Dorgo was never being anything else other than the last man on the bench. I think we were very lucky that Chelsea and Robert Sanchez showed up into town and thought, we feel sorry for you, let's give you a win. So that was exceptionally lucky. And Bruno Fernandes, obviously, with the 10-pointer. Like, no DC points here, but I'd take a goal any day of the week, mate. I'd take a goal any day of the week. So I was very happy when he returned. That was very nice. Obviously, Senesi got the DC points, and that's why I bought him in game week 4. So now that's really paid itself off. De Kuip obviously missed out for Brighton. So again, really good there. Bruno Fernandes, yeah, he's just great. I just love seeing him, and I think I'm going to keep him as well. Haaland, though, is the really interesting one. So obviously, I went with him as captain. It worked out. Yet again, he beat Mo Salah. So all those people that captain Mo Salah yet again, he did get his return, but it wasn't anything exciting, and Haaland yet again cleared him quite easily. So Haaland captainers the last 2 weeks have accounted for the Salah owners very, very comfortably, and now we're in a very good position of strength moving into game week 6. So again, Cody Gakpo was problematic. Got subbed, just after the 60th minute mark there, so that was disappointing. And Cunha obviously started on the bench, and that was the one I obviously did get wrong. But yeah, everything else, it went not too bad, all things considering. 58 points when lots of people were playing their bench boost, up from 8.8 million to 7.5 million. I will take that all day long. Yeah, I mean, 230 points now. We're over the 200-point barrier, and I'm telling you, in game week 6, we're going to be clearing the 300-point one. The D-Unit's back. I keep on increasing my score every single week, which means that this week I'm going to look at least 59 points, even with a -4. So yeah, let's have a look at what's going on. So the card calls this week, and I'm telling you, the card, I don't know what luck it's got going on here, but I'm telling you, it's now up to 23 correct calls for the season, 8 draws and 9 wrong. I don't get it. I don't get how it keeps doing it. From 40 card tosses on the late mail, this is what we're looking at. So Cody Gakpo obviously lost out to Mo Salah by 3 points. Semenyo accounted for Foden fairly easily by not actually that much, actually. It was pretty close, that one. Caicedo versus Reindeers. The card got that one wrong. Reindeers clearly covered Caicedo by 5 points. Ekitike smashed Watkins. And yeah, there you go. The card just knows what it's talking about. Haaland captain smashed João Pedro. Semenyo versus Mo Salah captain was a draw. Palmer versus Isaac was a draw. Isaac came off the bench. Palmer started, but he went off after 20 minutes. And Senesi accounted for Livramento as well. So again, the card seems to be on a hot start. If you want to pay attention to calls to make, just tune into the late mail because the card is richly on one at the moment and it's hard to ignore at this moment in time. So one of my score predictions for this week, and look, I've obviously stuffed up there because Liverpool actually scored twice, not one. I think I got a little bit exciting there and just presumed I'd got that one right. But I put the ones in red, which I got wrong, and the ones that are still in white on that side are the ones I got right. So Liverpool obviously did beat Everton 2-1. It was pretty close though. Everton really could have probably got a draw out of that if they pushed a bit harder in the second half. Brighton versus Spurs. I got the Brighton scoreline right. They did score twice against Spurs, who I expected to concede, and they did. Spurs, though, did actually score 2 instead of the 1 goal that I predicted, so that was a draw. Interesting game of football as well. Brighton raced into a 2-0 lead, and then Spurs clawed it back. That actually was pretty impressive from Spurs in general, to be honest with you. Burnley, I went for a 1-0 Forest win. I got the Nottingham Forest 1 goal right, but Burnley also scored, so that was frustrating, especially for my double Forest defence yet again. Highly disappointing. I went for a shock West Ham win, but in reality it was the exact scoreline, but just reversed. So it was West Ham 1, Crystal Palace 2, and Graham Potter must be running out of spells to cast because I think he's in a bit of trouble. The biggest shock, though, was Wolves. I went for a Wolves 1-0 win against Leeds, but Leeds scored 3 goals here, which is insane, and ended up winning the game 3-1. Man United, Chelsea, I went with a 2-2 draw, and Chelsea, if Maresca hadn't bottled it in the first half, probably could have got a 2-2 draw, but they didn't. Alas, they only got 1 goal, so it was 2-1 to Man United. Fulham versus Brentford, I went for a 2-0 Brentford win. I got this one horribly wrong. Fulham easily accounted for Brentford. I am concerned about Brentford, 3-1. Bournemouth versus Newcastle, I went for a 2-0 Bournemouth win, thinking that Newcastle would not be offering very much. Newcastle didn't offer very much going forward, but neither did Bournemouth, so it was a 0-0 result there. Sunderland versus Aston Villa, I got the Sunderland goal correct, but Aston Villa did not score 3 times, and that's very concerning, only getting the 1 goal there. And then it was Arsenal against Man City. I called a draw, which is the one scoreline I actually got correct, but it wasn't 2-0, it was 1-0. It was a very interesting game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, that's my score predictions for Game Week 5. Hopefully I can go a bit better in Game Week 6. So my early reactions after Game Week 5. So Game Week 4, we saw 10 clean sheets, right? 10 clean sheets. Half the teams in the Premier League kept 10 clean sheets. Half the teams in the Premier League kept clean sheets. When we got to the live watch along, not this Saturday, the Saturday before, we saw 5 goals in 5 games. This week we had 4 games on for the live watch along. Every team scored and we had 13 goals. That is the kind of watch along I enjoy doing. There's so much more to talk about. And it was great to see that the goals were back this week because last week was dead boring to watch. And it's so exciting watching goals. Now, obviously, clean sheets were at a premium. Only 2 clubs kept clean sheets this week, and that was the 0-0 draw between Bournemouth and Newcastle. And they are 2 of the arguably best defences in the league as well, so maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, goals are plenty. It's nice, but it also did show the value of having the DC gurus at the back, the DC superheroes. They just reign supreme. I mean, when they rack up the 10 points, it's just easy points for the taking. In reality, if there's going to be lots of goals, you're probably better off going for those players that are getting the DC points. There were some defenders, again, that got attacking returns, but again, I think you just go for the safety bet at this point and just roll with it at this point in time. Villa, Forest, Wolves, West Ham, they all suck. They put a line through their seasons. They're in trouble. There is going to be managerial changes probably. Well, there's already been one at Forest. I reckon they could have a second one later in the season. Wolves have given a new contract. I don't know why. They look like the worst team in the league. West Ham are not far behind, but I think if they make a managerial change, they should be okay. Villa, there's some rock going on in there, and I do not know what's going on. Again, the red cards changed the games. We saw in the Chelsea-Man United game, Sanchez having an absolute brain fade and getting himself sent off within the first 9 minutes of the game meant that they took players off. Cole Palmer's starting. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. That was just a bizarre set of circumstances, reasons why that even happened. Who was running the team? That's what I want to know. Maresca, you definitely bottled that. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be exceptionally disappointed that they didn't take the game to Man United in that second half, especially when they were down to 10 men. I think he really bottled it in that first half completely. There was blanks again for lots of popular assets. There was a lot of luck involved once again, which is inevitable. The margins also this week were ridiculous. There were some onside calls. Bruno Fernandes's goal, I reckon, was that much onside, the width of the card. There was not very much in it, but sometimes you get the luck, and this week, my team had the luck. Let's not deny that at all, and I'm very blessed and kissed. I like to call the word kissed when you sit there and get a little bit lucky, and I feel very lucky this particular week. There's also inevitability, and the reason why I picked Haaland captain is that dude is probably the form player in the league. He looks so hungry. There's something about him this season that just screams perma-captain. I'm not even lying. If he can go to Arsenal and just score that easily, in reality, he probably could have. I mean, if Man City hadn't played the way they played, obviously they stole Klopp's thing, and they've obviously worked on counterplay because they only had 31% possession, which is the lowest amount of possession a Man City team has had in the entire existence under Pep Guardiola. So he's definitely changing the way he plays, and it looks like potentially it could be coming together. Obviously, there was a lot more exciting games with a lot more goals, and that's always something to rejoice. We love goals in this game. We don't like clean sheets because that means it's boring football. The race to get in Haaland. Now it's happening. It's happening. He's already risen in price overnight. Thankfully, I'd already had him for a couple of game weeks and milked the fact that I had him early, and I've been enjoying those captaincy points the last couple of weeks in particular. How much does he rise? So I think the law is you can't rise more than 2 times in a week, I believe. Someone's going to correct me in the comments, and it's probably more and there's no cap. But my understanding is that you can't rise more than twice in a week. I think he rises to 14.4 million easily this week, maybe even in the next couple of days. There will also be a stupid amount of managers playing a chip this week. Now, as things stand, I'm not playing a chip. Many people are not wildcarding or free hitting and bringing in Haaland for Salah in a 2 transfer move in order to play the triple captain on him. Now, I understand the allure of this, but I'm going to talk you through why I don't like that in a little bit when we actually talk about the Haaland and getting him in and stuff in a proper detailed section. But for me, I'm not going there. And we're going to explain why. Burnley, Leeds, Sunderland are way better than what we're used to from the promoted teams. If that is not clear for the first 5 game weeks, I don't know what is. They are significantly better than a lot of the teams we have seen in recent years. To be honest with you, when you go to their home grounds, it's not a green fixture. It really should be grey, and I wonder how long it will take FPL to update that in the fixture ticker, because they've been solidly impressive. All 3 teams have been really impressive. I've been impressed by all of them. And inevitably, as I called it, the roulette has officially commenced. It is the season of roulette, and Maresca Madness, I don't know what he was thinking with taking off the double substitution. You should only have taken one of those blokes off. He literally shot himself in the foot because he made all these changes, and then he had none of his good attackers left on the pitch in the second half. When the game was there to be taking, Maresca bottled it. Probably the worst managerial performance of the weekend. I mean, losing to Man United is summon, but doing it in the way that he did it, it takes a real special manager, let's be honest. So the essential players and who they are. Now, Haaland in Game Week 6 has to be essential. Now, I'm not sitting there saying you shouldn't play a chip or whatever, but I would even recommend taking a -4 to bring him in this week, just so you can captain the man. Now, there are going to be many, many, many people. I reckon there's going to be at least 90% of managers, maybe even 95% of managers using a chip this week that are engaged. They're either going to be using the free hit to bring in Haaland so they can go back to a Salah draft in Game Week 7, or they're going to be wildcarding to either have Salah and Haaland or to get rid of Salah and bring in Haaland. And then there's going to be others, potentially, that might use a triple captain on him. Now, I'll draw you back to the game against Southampton last year, and I triple captain Haaland myself last year for a 2-pointer against Southampton. Just because it's Burnley does not mean it's going to be a flood of goals. Let's be real here. In reality, probably the best time to play him is against a weaker defence. Now, Burnley's defence has actually been not too bad this season. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking about playing the triple captaincy chip, that's why I'm not playing it. Now, between game weeks 12 and 9, I get that he's in form, right? And he's good. And Pep Guardiola talked about a sore back or whatever. He's not got a sore back. He's just managing his minutes, let's be honest. But game weeks 12 to 19, there are 3 really good chances to play it on Haaland. You've got Sunderland twice, home and away. You've got West Ham. There are better times to be playing it. I just think that potentially that's when I'll be playing mine. That if you want my honest opinion, that's when I'm going to be playing mine. I'm pretty confident, 95% confident, I'm not playing it on Haaland this week. Semenyo just shows no signs of stopping the price rise train, and I've jumped on board. Spoiler alert for later. That's one of the transfers I've already made. He rose in price again tonight, which is just insane. He's gone from 7.6 now up to 7.7, and I wanted to catch the price rise, and I did when I woke up this morning. Thankfully in Australia, when you wake up in the morning, you have about, well, when I wake up, it's like 5:30 in the morning normally. I've got 3.5 hours to think about my moves if there's price changes when I wake up, which is fantastic. I can go to bed. It's in the back of my mind. I wake up. I'm like, all right, who's close, whatever. Do I need to make a move? Then I make a move. A Spurs defender is a must, I reckon. I reckon it is. And I've actually bought one in. Spoiler alert as well. I bought a Spurs defender in. I'm eating my pride. I'm telling you, Spurs are not as bad as I first thought. The DC defenders are probably the priority. They probably need to be the priority. Let's be honest. They need to be the priority moving forward, I think, over the attacking defenders, which pains me to say it, but I think you want those blokes who are just going to rack up those extra 2 points. I think it will be telling, particularly if you've got good defenders, and I'm going to talk through them in a little bit about what I would want in my team moving forward and what my plans are for future weeks. And that's why I'm not using my wildcard. I'm going to explain that very good. The promoted teams also are worth a look. Now, no one's looking at buying Cole Anthony, obviously in Game Week 6, because they've got Man City. But look, moving forward, they're going to be great. And I actually think that I might be persuaded to bring one of them in. Lots of people are looking at Stack because he had an amazing week for Leeds. But in reality, they played Wolves. Leeds do not play Wolves every single week. So just keep that in mind. If you're chasing those Stack points, it's probably been and gone. The next good opportunity for Stack is probably going to be against, Burnley in a few weeks' time. I think it's Game Week 8 or something like that. Teams not in Europe pose less risk moving forward with minutes, with rotations, etc., etc. We saw so much, and now we're going to look at what you should have learned from the commencement of Europe this game week. So what did we learn from the impact of Europe? Now, obviously you can see there, I've got a big picture of Cole Palmer. Now, this is inevitable. Cole Palmer, and particularly Chelsea, played all the way through to the end of the Club World Cup, and it's inevitable that they will get more injuries for the players that played there. They have not had a proper rest. They haven't had a proper preseason. Manchester City is slightly better off because they got knocked out early. But with all the games now of added Europe, we saw it last season with lots of injuries happening all the time, particularly for those teams in Europe. That has to be taken into account. Injuries will happen to key players. I've already seen Saka go down with a hamstring, and I can guarantee you he's not going to be playing 90 minutes too often this season, particularly with all the assets that Arsenal have got there. Cole Palmer is probably going to be in the same boat. If he's got a recurring groin issue, he needs proper rest. So again, that probably means he's not an option. And I don't think he can go a whole season just nursing it. He'll want to go to the World Cup and he'll need to get it right at some point, which means he's going to have a sustained period of rest. Now, as we saw, slot roulette has officially begun. Isaac and Ekatike sharing the minutes. Others also got benched, like Florian Wirtz and all the rest. Cody Gakpo got subbed much earlier than we're used to. This is going to happen with Europe. the minutes that we're expecting over the first 3 to 4 weeks that we've seen where they played 90 minutes, no problems because there's been no Europe. Now there's no longer going to be those players that play 90 minutes every single week. I would dare say Salah's not even immune to that. I do say that he will probably end up getting rested or losing some minutes over the long term, particularly of Europe. Remember, he is one of the oldest players in that Liverpool squad now as well. Keep that in mind when you're buying players, honestly. Then we had Arteta. He showed his roulette as well. Will be just as good as Arnie Slots. Eze was benched. Madueke played 45 minutes and then got taken off for Saka. And Madueke, I thought, was the best player on the pitch for Arsenal in the first half. Trossard starts. Martinelli's on the bench. Yeah, I mean, even Gyökeres has doubts about whether he'll be starting every game as well. So you've got to keep this in mind. Yes, we see the easy fixtures for Arsenal coming up. But will that mean that those players are playing? I mean, if Arteta's clever, he will play his best 11 against the best teams. Against the weaker teams, we will see some rotation. And even in defense, where people say, oh, Gabriel's going to play every single minute. You guys forget that he had a 3-month hamstring issue. He was out for 3 months because of a hamstring-related issue. Arteta will be aware of this. The sports science people will be sitting there with their notebooks and their pens, and they'll be hitting out who's in the red zone at different points during the season. And I'm telling you, Gabriel's not even going to be nailed. They've got so many options at the back. They've got Mascara, they've got Hincapié, they've got Ben White. They've got so many options, and they are all pretty good. They're not like there's a massive drop-off, and they need to get minutes. And I dare say they're going to get them in the league against easier opportunities. So just keep that in mind when you are lining up the fixtures. It's why I quite like David Raya as my favourite Arsenal asset in the defence, because you know he's going to be starting. They don't need to be rotating goalkeepers, and Arteta doesn't do it. Pep, ironically, seems to have the best settled lineup of the lot. But again, is this just due to injuries? Obviously, Cherky is still out. We've still got Marmoush out. They do have injuries there, and I do think that once they're all back, we will also see Pep Roulette in its classic form back again. It's definitely going to happen. And Maresca has shown that I don't know what he's going to do. There is a chance that he just benches Sanchez next week in the league, even though he isn't going to be suspended for that. You just never know with Maresca. He's already obviously benched Cucurella as well. There's just so much unknown. And again, Chelsea's squad is so deep and talented, there's no reason for him to be starting the same 11 every single week. So again, that's going to be problematic moving forward. Eddie Howe, already this season, and not just this week against Bournemouth, has shown that he will just pick whoever he wants. We've already seen Elanga bench multiple times, Balm bench multiple times. Even without the likes of Wissa being available, we've seen weird lineups. I mean, on the weekend, we saw Bruno Guimaraes, who I can't remember the last time he was fit and was benched. We also saw Jollington benched. It's going to happen. And I just don't know if you want to be investing in clubs like that with the deep squads, knowing that potentially on any given week when you need them and the fixtures look good, they might be on the bench. Then you got the Frank stability. Now, good kudos to Frank. He looks like he's going to be playing his main team more often than not. We'll have to wait and see if that continues or if the injuries start to pile up as well. But it is something to keep in mind. I just thought that was the impact of Europe. This week we get Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, all heading into European competition. It's something to consider, something to weigh up. It's not going to be as easy as we think it's going to be. So, look, it's need to be aware, and I feel like a lot of other content creators are not going to be spending the time that it actually deserves going into what we saw this weekend and what we're going to see moving forward. So again, hopefully that's helped you change your mind a little bit, or maybe consider that when you're making transfers this week. So my Game Week 6 watch list in the defenders is completely and utterly changed. Chalobah's the only one that remains here. The ones that are joining are Udogie, 4.4 mil. He was back in the starting lineup here, and I would dare say he's better than Spence. So for the decent games coming up, I would suggest that Spence is probably going to play in the Carabao Cup this week because it's obviously that for Tottenham midweek. And I'd suggest that Udogie is going to be in for Wolves and could be a really good cheap option into that squad. Burn, he just looks fantastic. He's hit the DC threshold 3 out of 5 games now as well. And he's 5 mil. Really cheap way into that Newcastle defence. Eddie Howe loves him as well. Nick Richards, 4.5 mil. There's a lot to like and get excited about there. Keeps on offering those DC points. Again, it's just to set it and forget. Tarkowski, he has to be in there. The dude's literally hit him in every single game week of the season, a bit like Senesi. He's just fantastic. Vardiol hit him on the weekend against Arsenal. And with some of the trickier games, you think he's going to be immune from rotation. I just think that he's going to be great. Playing at centre-back, he will be able to play more minutes. And it's not like Man City's defense is amazing, and Vardiol and Ruben Dias are clearly the two best centre backs they've got. So I don't mind him. He's obviously dropped to 5.8 mil, which makes him a little bit more enticing as well. And a lot of people are going to be looking at Phil Foden and attackers and Donnarumma this week. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Vardiol. Into the midfielders, got Semenyo and Mbumo, Foden, Xavi. They all remain there. But I've added Eze in there. He just looks quality. Every time I see him play, even when he came off the bench, he's still got that assist. It was a great ball. And I think eventually he's actually going to become that left winger. Like, it would make no sense not to, because he's definitely the most talented in that spot. Minte looked class again, and he's had a very under the radar start of the season. He's had multiple returns now. He looks really good at 5.9 mil. He's a really cheap enabler as well. And in the forward line, we've had Strand Larsen and Isidore come in. Isidore's looked really good for Sunderland. He's actually taken over that starting spot the last couple of games as well. And Strand Larsen's back from injury. And with Wolves' run, they probably need him to hit the ground running and hopefully score some goals. So again, he has to be added to the watch list as well. Yeah, that's what it's looking like for Game Week 6. So I wonder what my team looks like without any moves. So I wanted to show you this because obviously I have made transfers, and we'll talk about my transfers and where I'm going this week. And originally I rolled the transfer in Game Week 5, right? I was so tempted to make it and bring in Semenyo. I mean, I probably could have for Gakpo already, probably could have gained that extra 0.1 in team value that way, but I didn't because I wanted to just see how the rest of the team went and whether Cunha was back and whatever. And in the end, I think it's going to pay itself off because I did get that information. And without a move, this is what it would have looked like. Cody Gakpo would not have been the vice captain because I just left that there because it was on him originally for my team selection last week. Haaland's obviously going to be the captain, and that's a no-brainer. The vice captaincy actually might end up on Bruno Fernandes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But even this team, like, the double Forest defense just has to go because of the fact that I can't do it. My number one rule normally is no double defense, and I've been proven right for the first 5 weeks, and not one time has it paid off. So I'll never be doing it again. And I say that now, I probably will do it again, but probably not for very long because the same thing will happen and I'll be very frustrated with it. But the team actually looks pretty good this week, right? You could have rolled it potentially, but I'm making some moves because I want to attack. I want to set this team up so I don't actually have to wildcard, which is why I've taken a -4. And now I'm going to talk you through why I've taken that -4. So this is my Game Week 6 transfers and what I've done. So the first move for free was Cody Gakpo to Semenyo. Now, when I bought Semenyo, he was at 7.6 mil. He has now gone up to 7.7. So it's automatically paid itself off that move by moving Gakpo. And I do expect Gakpo to probably drop because a lot of people are probably going to move him on for either Phil Foden or Semenyo this week or someone else entirely. Then option 2 came in. Now, there was 2 different ways of doing this. I could either get rid of Milenkovic and keep Sells for the week and keep Collins. But then I look at my team and I was like, I'm going to bench Collins because I'm playing double United attack this week. I don't need him. How can I get a Spurs defender in and enable some moves for the following week? So I've ended up with Udogie. Now, people say Udogie could be a rotation risk with Spence, etc., etc. I don't think he's a rotation risk this week, which is why I bought him in. And I really want him for Wolves and the following week. Then he's going to be literally just a rotation player, along with, currently it's Dorgu and whoever I bring in next week. And Juve, sorry. It'll be Juve, Dorgu, and whoever, and Udogie. They'll be rotating every single week. I'm definitely going to be sticking with 3 at the back. So that didn't worry me too much. So if he gets benched, whatever. He's dirt cheap, and it's an easy way into that Tottenham defence, particularly for this week. And with the way Wolves are playing, he's a very good chance of getting an attacking return as well. On to the third one, it was getting rid of Sells. And I wanted to get David Raya in. Now, he hasn't risen in price. I got a bit excited. He's actually only 5.5, but he is expected to rise in price tonight, and he would go up to 5.6. So again, I had to make that move this week and today. Well, I thought it was today because he was predicted to rise in price when I woke up. So that's why I went for him. And it'll make sense when you see the team for the following weeks. It just looks so much better now. And the team this week now looks unbelievably good for Game Week 6. So this is what it looks like. So Raya comes in, replaces Sells. We get rid of the double up. And look, Newcastle haven't been setting the world light in terms of the attacking data. And I know they've got a really good record, particularly against Arsenal in recent times. And I just sat there and was like I want the cheapest way into that Arsenal defence, and I don't have to worry about someone getting rotated in and out. That man is David Raya. Now, people will say he doesn't get save points, etc., etc. My original plan is to wildcard in Game Week 12. By getting in David Raya this week in a -4, I now no longer have to wildcard next week, this week, etc., etc. So Milinkovic gets one more week in the team. He then moves. He will be guaranteed the transfer I make in Game Week 7. So Milinkovic, with the money in the bank, I've got 0.4 million in the bank. He will either go to Vardiol, depending on price rises or whatever, or he'll go to Tarkowski. That will be my move in Game Week 7. All right? Sar's obviously back fit and available probably this weekend. So again, he's no longer a concern. I can rotate him in and out of the team. Semenyo obviously comes in for Cody Gakpo. Leads away, you would argue, is probably better than Crystal Palace away. And he's going to be the vice captain now that he is in the team. However, I think there is a conversation to be had about Bruno Fernandes having the vice captaincy as well. And then the third move, obviously, was getting rid of Collins, who was where Dorgu was on the bench, because there was no way I was playing Cunha and Fernandes against Collins and then playing all three and hoping for the best. That was just suicide. I bought in Udogie, who is an unbelievably good differential, I think, this week. And he'll feature on the differentials video tomorrow. But keep your eyes out for that one. But I just think long-term, it just gives me so much more flexibility. So in Game Week 7, the idea would be to move Milinkovic out for, as I said, Tarkowski or Vardiol. Ideally, I'd like Vardiol, I think, if prices allow. And then in Game Week 8, after Ollie Watkins has had that Burnley fixture at home, and I don't know if he's going to be any good. He might be crap the next 2 weeks, and it's just been not worth it. And he's going to drop in price. But Ollie Watkins in Game Week 8, instead of following the sheep like every man and his dog is and going to Victor Gyökeres, who I have not been impressed with at all, I will actually be moving back to my man, Jared Bowen, who again continues to rack up the 9-pointers. And the reason why is because he's not in Europe. So if we have a look at this team post Game Week 8, we'll have David Raya, who shouldn't be a rotation risk. We'll have Milinkovic gone, which will be probably Tarkowski, because I'll probably lure towards Tarkowski because I think the price rises. Plus, Tarkowski's not in Europe. Udogie, that's just a rotation risk, but that's fine. We can sort that out later on. Senesi's not in Europe. Fantastic. Semenyo, not in Europe. Fantastic. Cunha, Bruno Fernandes, not in Europe. No rotation risk. Fantastic. Reindeers, obviously, he's going to be the 8 for Taka, so again, that's not going to be too bad. We can weather that. We can move to someone else if there's someone else I like. Minte could be an option here as well, moving forward for Reindeers, potentially in a couple of weeks, post these other moves. Even Ilson, he's not going anywhere. No rotation risk there. He's going to be starting every game. Ollie Watkins, as I said, will become Jared Bowen. Haaland is pretty much immune from rotation at Man City as long as he's fit. So again, don't have to worry about that. Dubravka, don't have to worry. Dorgu Juve, ditto. Don't have to worry, really. They're pretty much nailed in their teams. Then it's Sar. Like, the team won't need actually that many problems moving forward. Then I can get through to wildcard 12, 13, probably 12 because it's post the international break, and I'll try and get some price rises then over that break. And that's the third one. Then I can set this team up with Newcastle assets, with Liverpool assets. Who looks good then? I can jump on the likes of people that look good before that happens and the rest of the masses, wildcard and 13. So that's the plan. I actually think it looks pretty good long term. I'll have the Arsenal coverage of the defence. I'm happy with one of them. Again, Eze Gyökeres could come in depending on how the team goes. Remember, in Game Week 8, Man United have Liverpool, so that I could potentially make a move there because I could actually get rid of Watkins for Bowen and potentially boost Bruno Fernandes up to Saka. So again, these are very much options that could all happen around that time. Again, I'm open to -4s. I've already taken a -4 this week. And I'm pretty happy with the team. And I think hopefully that provides a bit of food for thought for everyone else that potentially is looking at early moves and what they're doing and whether they actually need a wild card or not. Remember, and the team this week looks amazing now. Like, there's 7 green fixtures on the paper. I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited with the week I've had, and I'm very excited about the week that potentially may be Game Week 6. So those are my early transfer plans that I've done. My idea behind my team moving forward and why I am not wildcarding. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. If you've enjoyed that and found it useful, please smash a like. If you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button. Let me know what moves you're looking at the moment. Let me know if you followed the cards advice this week as well and followed it, because I'm telling you, it's done a pretty good job once again. And yeah, I'm really excited for the week that is ahead. And I'm very excited about the place that my team is in. Now, lots of people probably tell me you still need a wild card. I'm telling you, the -4 has really set my team up. And the good news is, if it goes pear-shaped, I could just whack the wild card button anyway, because I still have it. And that's the power of keeping it. And not many people, no other content creators are talking about keeping it because they're all talking about using it. I'm talking about delaying it. And hopefully that's a little bit of freshness to the community because let's be honest, we've all seen the same wildcard draft video from every content creator out there at the moment. And I can guarantee you when I cover one later this week, mine will be different. Come back here, no FPL review, no FPL Solio. It's FPL D-Unit, baby. Get excited. I'll see you later tomorrow.